Hello, class, and welcome back to another episode of Gaming History 101. I am your teacher, Mr. McKinney. You may call me Morgan. And as per usual, in this class, we go over how a video game was developed, how it started, where it is now, if it's still going, or if it stopped a long time ago. There are some games that are still here to this day that I greatly enjoy. And today we are joined by another guest. My good friend Nolan.
Hello, my name is Nolan Duncan. I was on the Kirby episode.
This is true.
Yeah, so I've been on here before. It's always great coming back. Morgan's a good buddy of mine. I love talking video games with him. I am the president of the Dead Podcaster Society, and I run a few other programs. A lot of them are like either being worked on or kind of just in a sort of limbo state. So I'm not going to name too many of those programs. I also do some radio work, but this is a podcast club program, yes, so I'm not going to worry about that.
The radio is important on the radio time.
Yeah.
This is
podcast
time.
This is podcast time. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is video game time as well.
It's time for us to put on our gamer glasses and just show how much knowledge we have.
However, we are nerds, Morgan.
Yes, but it's better to be called a nerd now than it was back in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
If you were called a nerd in the 80s, it was definitely more offensive back then. Anywho, so unlike our usual episodes where we talk about one game or a franchise and how they got off the ground, today we have a certain gaming event we are talking about. I initially planned to talk about this earlier in the semester, but time is never on anyone's side when you're a student in college. So, with that said, we had to postpone it to March. But here we are with our look on the 2025 Game Awards. Now, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, the Game Awards has been around The Game Awards has been around for a while in the gaming community. Most notably, it's there to appreciate games that made a lot of people smile, made a lot of people fun, I guess. It's always about highlighting the devs behind the game and how well they did in creating the game itself. For example, back in 2022, everyone knew what game was going to win Game of the Year, none other than Elden Ring. Seeing as how there wasn't really much competition that year anyways. But there are some Game of the Year nominees and winners that are good, some are not. But today we're here to talk about the Game Awards from 2025, the most recent one. Now, Nolan, what was your experience with the Game Awards this year?
Yeah, so unlike so I guess for an extended little background history of my knowledge of the Game Awards, I was always a video game fan growing up, but I didn't really get into I wasn't a huge video game fan until late middle school, early high school. I was definitely more of a Lego kid. And even then, I always wanted to check out the Game Awards, but my parents were really strict about me and my brother going to bed on time. So I could always watch like the first hour or two, but then I'd have to miss most of the program because they'd be like, hey, it's, So I didn't really start being able to enjoy the Game Awards until college, where it was always just a convenient time. The past 3 years, either finals week either fell the week before, or by the time the Game Awards happened, it was during finals week and I was done with finals. But either way, for the past from 2022 to 2024, I was always able to enjoy the Game Awards fully, which was always cool. But this year was a little different. My finals had wrapped up earlier that week. I had to get some stuff. I had to get a little bit of extra classwork done. So the Game Awards fell on December 10th?
11th.
Yeah. And so what ended up happening was I was still packing up my dorm. So I tuned in to the Game Awards, and I didn't watch it, but because I was heading home, but I had my phone in my cup holder in my car listening to it like a podcast. So I was tuning in and out. And but what I saw of it, and I'm mainly here because I want to talk about like my thoughts on the Game Awards since specifically 2022, because I think that's where a lot of like what has allowed the Game Awards to become more a more serious award show, but also flow a lot better than previous years. That's I feel like 2025. This one was a little divisive. I know there were a lot of games people were like, that's kind of stupid to discuss. There were a lot of situations where,
This is true.
yeah, that was really the only criticism I saw of the 2025 Game Awards was the games just were not that interesting. But I think, I'm specifying 2022 because that's really where a lot of people started questioning, like, is the Game Awards something we should be actually treating seriously? 2022 had that kid sneak up on stage with the Elden Ring developers and go, I would like to nominate this award to my esteemed Jewish rabbi, or like, what was it, like Jewish Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. And then 2023 was horrible because alongside that kid and the fact that 2022 also had what's Judd, he's the voice of Kratos in the new God of War games, Christopher Judd. Yeah. Christopher Judd actually gave, and he joked about it in 2023 when he was giving out the award for best actor in a game. He gave the longest speech of any Game Awards. In fact, that led 2023 to have that situation where it's like, well, people started pointing out, and part of the reason why a lot of people were mad at Jeff Keighley that year was because they had timers for award speech recipients. Yeah, so like the people handing out the awards, like I think Anthony Mackie appeared in 2023, or him or Matthew McConaughey. I think both of them appeared at
Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, I remember that one.
But they got to speak a long time for their product placement.
And then when we actually got to the developers, and then talking about their process, how honored they are.
Baldur's Gate 3, like they were giving a tribute to all of the members of their staff that had died because of COVID or other health problems, and they were ramping up that music. 2024 was 2024 was problematic because similar to it was like kind of the inverse of 2023, where 2023 had almost too many game ads, whereas 2024 just didn't have enough reveals.
Yeah.
And also, was it 2023 or 2024 they were doing a lot of like that green room, that green screen room where they, one of those, either way, those 2 years just.
I think it was 24.
Yeah. And this year, like, it felt, I don't have a lot of opinions on this one because it wasn't a great Game Awards, but it was an okay one,
It wasn't bad.
Like,
it wasn't.
I think they have finally fixed all of their problems, and all they can do now is just get better. Like, the only thing holding this year back was the game reveals. Now, I admit, I'm not going to sit here and trash all the game reveals. Most of the games revealed, at least to me, just were not my type of game. The only games that really got me excited was... Oh God, I'm actually forgetting what games were revealed.
Like FOTOR, Fate of the Old Republic.
Oh yeah, that Star Wars one. For me, it was mainly I had recently gotten into Ace Combat, and so to see Ace Combat 8 revealed, that was cool. But
yeah, that's pretty neat.
Like, it was also really funny because I was joking with some friends after, even though Team Asobi, who made Astrobot, even though they're a Japanese developer, a bunch of the team members are French, so it was kind of funny to see the French win 2 years in a row. It was also nice though because 2023's Game Awards. Wait, hold up. No, 2022. 2022's Game Awards has always annoyed me because I'm a Xenoblade 3 fan, and so I don't mind that Elden Ring got Game of the Year. But
I mean, a lot of people really enjoyed the game.
Yeah, like I'm not mad at Elden Ring.
Do you understand how many keyboards and controllers were destroyed over that game?
Dude. The only reason I don't rage at Elden Ring is because like I know I'm supposed to be bad at the game, but like Elden Ring, it deserved Game of the Year. I'm just happy Xenoblade Chronicles 3 got a nomination because I was talking to a guy before that about how he was like, well, it's too niche, which what I'm mad about is the fact that just because Jeff Keighley wanted to satisfy PlayStation, they were like, we're going to give every award to God of War
Except for
Ragnarok.
Game of the Year.
Yeah. Which then led me to be like, how did Elden Ring win Game of the Year? Especially because Xenoblade 3's music is so good. I don't care if God of War took everything else. Music should have went to Xenoblade 3. And so I do think... Now, I actually plan on getting a hold of Expedition 33. But I
Which
will
we
say...
will be talking
yeah,
about later in the
I'm going to
podcast.
save my thoughts on that. But it is funny how... It does just feel like there was a lot less outside of that final game reveal. It feels like Jeff Keighley finally was able to be like, okay, I'm appeasing my advertisers and I'm appeasing the sponsors and the people that are giving me money to even put on this event. But I'm also like, it just felt like a natural event.
Yeah.
There was still a lot of corporate handholding, but it felt a lot more balanced out with more naturality.
Plus, this was the first time when the Game Awards was hosted on another streaming platform that wasn't just YouTube or Twitch. It was also being streamed from Amazon Prime. So if people had a Prime membership, they could watch it from Prime Video, which is actually kind of neat.
Yeah.
Now then, it's time for me to, it's time for us to talk about some of the games that were, in fact, announced at the Game Awards. So let's start there. We'll get to the nominees and the actual game awards later. And of course, most notably, the thing that happened at the Game Awards, ever since 2023, I believe, there's always been an appearance of various actors, celebrities, but none of them can even hold a candle to an appearance of any of the Muppets showing up at the Game Awards.
Dude.
Yeah.
I pride myself on being a guy that's like, yeah, I can recognize an actor, but I'm not like one of those like, I'm a super fan of this person and that person. I'm not gonna lie. It's part of the reason why there's a specific year I hate in recent, and it's either 2023 or 2024. But the Muppets are genuinely my favorite part of the Game Awards. It's why I'm trying to remember.
In 2023, they had Gonzo and his game board.
And the worst part is that like that would have been a perfectly fine like that is exactly why I hated 2023 because of that kid hopping on that stage at 2022 because security was like, yeah, we're not going to wonder why this kid is just like on this stage that does not look like he should be on that stage. They shoved a bunch of the awards to that back room where Jeff and that one lady will stand and just like in front of a green screen that's like got a green screen of like the whole like venue. And they'll announce some awards, and I hated that because it also meant that a Gonzo skit that would have worked perfectly, even better on the main stage than in that green room, was also funneled into that green room. And don't get me wrong, that Gonzo skit was great because it makes sense that Gonzo would be obsessed with video game chickens. But once again,
Of course.
I feel like we could have done a lot more, and especially because the Jim Henson Company is not afraid to make new puppets. Like, I think it would have been fun to have them maybe make some Muppet puppets of, like, the various video game chickens he's talking about. I want my Muppet Minecraft chicken.
You think Gonzo's the type of person to play Legend of Zelda and constantly attack the chickens?
No, Gonzo's the type of guy that would specifically play Tears of the Kingdom and try to like make all the wacky contraptions, but always fail and die in the game because the contraptions explode in his face.
Or something. And then for 2024, they had Stantler and Waldorf, the two.
That was actually
that was hilarious because they were just roasting.
I kid you not. That is one of the only things I remember from 2024. And honestly. Yes, I don't mind that he likes to contain the Muppets to maybe one skit, but it's Statler and Waldorf. I would not mind. And like, here's the other thing:
it's literally their whole point to make fun of whatever show they're watching.
We already know the Muppets are almost always guaranteed to be at the Game Awards. Mm-hmm. just to
As
make
well
sure
as
it
Todd
doesn't
Howard,
lose.
but that's later.
Well, yeah, to make sure it doesn't lose the charm, and B, because it's Statler and Waldorf, I wouldn't mind if like you have like the main Muppet skit that happens, but then also like not like once again, so it doesn't lose the charm. I don't want it to be every award, but every once in a while, maybe pan over to. They don't even have to interact with the rest of the show. Just pan over to Statler and Waldorf, like roasting like gaming developers and CEOs. I think that would be amazing.
I still remember my favorite joke from that game award. Like,
Did they make? I forget. Did they make a Todd Howard joke?
no, but they
I
did.
wouldn't be surprised.
It wouldn't be surprising, no. But here's what they did do. I remember they were talking about how Jeff Keighley was going on, how he's friends with Kojima, and then one of them was like, "Does Kojima know that?"
I love that.
that was, and you can tell Jeff Keighley probably didn't know about that joke because he looked stunned.
Oh yeah, no. I love it when humor is allowed to like just happen.
Anywho, but the appearance of the Muppets this year, rather than being Gonzo again or Fozzie, it was this time 2 Muppets, being Miss Piggy
and Ralph. Rolf.
And
the Rolf song, that was actually really cool.
Yeah, like
I didn't know I ever wanted to hear a Muppet utter the word Undertale.
Look, I was surprised when I heard Rolf go Kingdom Hearts, but that was just like, well, he is owned by Disney now, so I guess it makes sense. Plus, for those of you massive Kingdom Hearts fans, that's your Kingdom Hearts insertion for the Game Awards, unfortunately.
Is Kingdom Hearts 4 even ever going to come? That's a show for another day, I guess.
Another time.
I'm not going to go into deep details, but I also like the fact that like it insinuates that Miss Piggy may or may not have cheated on Kermit with Jeff Keighley.
Yeah. That was a running gag throughout the whole thing.
What a diva. What a diva. Jeff doesn't deserve her. She's too good for Jeff.
She's too good. Anywho, but now it's time to talk about major announcements, big games that were announced during this year's Game Awards. For starters, let's talk about 2 games that in the past, unfortunately, we have not seen a lot of in recent years. Either we'd see something following the same rhythm as them, like maybe the same kind of gameplay, the same kind of thing, but not under the same title. The first one is Star Wars: Fate of the Old Republic. That's right, everyone. KOTOR is back. I'm certain a lot of people know KOTOR, being one of the well-known RPG Star Wars games where you can actually be really good or really evil, and it actually affects the way the game ends, just like Undertale did. Like, you could be super evil, and then you have to actually do an evil ending. There aren't a lot of games that do that as much as we want there to be. And then, of course, the other one being Mega Man Dual Override. Nope. I'm certain a lot of people, myself included, were not expecting Mega Man to return. Because, like, it's been years since the last Mega Man game.
Well, like, they had a new Mega Man game on, like, PS4 Switch.
Yeah, well,
I have that. Mega Man 8, wasn't it?
Something like that.
But it's like, nobody, you hear nobody talk about it.
Yeah.
One I'm excited for, and I completely forgot this even. Actually, a few I forgot about. Because, like, was it... now I'm losing track of time. It was either during this recording or beforehand. I'm pretty sure it was earlier in this recording where I talked about, like, really the only one I was, like, looking... But, once again, you can tell I had to treat it like a podcast. I was locking in when Jeff was speaking, because I'm pulling up the list. I also need to mention, I tuned in late to the live stream because I was out getting dinner with some friends around the time it started. Some of the games that I'm excited for that got announced was Control Resonant, which is a sequel to Remedy Games' Control, which
have that on the list.
is part of the wider Alan Wake franchise,
Featuring
and I
Dylan
love it.
Faden.
Yeah. When I found out that got announced, I had it on PS Plus, but it was only like the regular version of Control. I went and, like, once I saw the Ultimate Edition of Control was on sale and, like, really cheap as well, I was like, I'm buying that. And then another thing I'm excited for, I'm just double checking some information here, because hold up, someone's messaging me. I apologize for this, folks, if I like seem like not fully like here. I live in a constant like my phone is like buzzing every few seconds with people needing information. One interesting thing that we got information about was the new game, Gang of Dragon. Did you see about that?
I think I saw about that, but I don't think I have it on my list.
That that one's interesting because there's a whole story to that.
Oh yeah, it's like
yeah.
about that assassin.
No, it's so this one requires a story. It all starts with the video game developer Toshihiro Nagoshi. He was the chief creative officer for Sega, actually until 2021 when he became creative director. He was the general director and like the head of Ryuga Gotoku Studios, which the word Ryuga Gotoku translates to like a dragon. Yeah, he's the guy who created the Like a Dragon series, otherwise known as Yakuza.
And here comes Nolan's Yakuza fan.
Yeah. Trust me, this'll be quick. He also was involved with a lot of other franchises like the Virtua Fighter series, Shenmue, all that stuff. So he was involved with Yakuza until. Hold up, I genuinely am trying to make sure I'm like reporting proper. Yeah. So he was he was involved with the series in terms of like mainline Yakuza. He was involved with the final, his final Yakuza Like a Dragon game was 2020's Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's called Like a Dragon 7 in Japan. It was called Yakuza Like a Dragon in the rest of the world because they wanted to start like having the like games start having the same name, but they needed it to make sense for people who are used to hearing it called the Yakuza series, which is why they were like in fact all Western releases of Like a Dragon games from now on will not have a number; they'll have a subtitle. His last Yakuza, the Yakuza Like a Dragon series is part of it has a few spinoff series. So the last actual like Ryuga Gotoku Studios game he was involved with was technically Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, but like the main games they work on was the sequel to Judgment called Lost Judgment, where he served as executive director and story writer. He has gone on to he left Ryuga Gotoku Studios and has started his own studios called Nagoshi Studios. He left Sega after 30 years, and in 2021 he founded Nagoshi Studios. At the 2025 Game Awards, he announced that they are in works to make a new game very similar to Yakuza. It looks like it's going to be a lot more darker. The Like a Dragon series, a lot of people don't like how it's become a lot more sillier, a lot more goofier. So a lot of people are really excited for Gang of Dragon because it seems like Nagoshi, like I guess was really big on keeping Yakuza very like it could be silly in the side content, but very nitty gritty. This one's also interesting because it feels very multicultural. It's set in not the fictional world of Kamurocho, but in the actual city Kamurocho is based off of Kabukicho, Japan. But what's interesting is that it's getting a lot of money back. Like, once again, it feels very multicultural because the main actor is actually Korean. And a lot of the financing is coming from a Chinese company. So it's like a lot of different Asian cultures involved with this. So it looks interesting. What we saw in the trailer, it looks like it's going to be really nitty gritty. And it looks like it's going to compete well with the Stranger Than Heaven game Ryuga Gotoku Studios recently announced. I'm sorry about that tangent, but
right.
that and Control Resonant and Ace Combat 8, those were really what I was like, oh my god. I'm looking at this.
I can tell you there are two other games that were announced during this Game Awards that, well, three technically. that I was just like, oh, I know what those are. Those could be neat. The first one, kind of a bit of a disappointment when I first saw it, because Wizards of the Coast, which is a well-known D&D game company, recently announced their next upcoming D&D based game based around one simple class in the D&D franchise. Unfortunately, it is a class I am not a fan of, being the Warlock.
Wizard do. Oh yeah,
No.
is that like Warlock Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes, literally it's Warlock Dungeons and Dragons, a dark fantasy RPG from Wizards of the Coast and Invoke Studios. The reason I'm like not a big fan of it is because I've never really been a fan of the Warlock class. It's just you basically get your power from some deity or demon, and you're kind of pathetic outside of a fight.
I've been seeing a game trend online where it's like, oh, it's like wizard. It's a big multiplayer game with like wizard powers, but the gimmick is like you speak into a mic.
Wizard Royale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wizards of the Coast is screwed with that game. Like, I get it. In a few years, that game will be dead. But also, like, I'm sorry, but like, I am interested in no other magic wizard warlock based game unless it tries to like be better than Wizard Royale. I haven't even played it, and I want to play it so badly because do you know how funny it is to look down at someone and go fireball?
Yeah, you have no idea how ridiculous it could be when someone casts a spell they have no information about. Like when
Doom.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Doom?
Yeah. And then there are two other games, technically three, because there were two Tomb Raider games announced.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at that on the list right now.
Tomb Raider Catalyst, a brand new Lara Croft adventure coming in 2027. And then Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, a remake of the 1996 game, scheduled for later this year. Which makes me wonder if there are going to be fans who are upset over Lara Croft not looking the way she did in the 90s, with how obvious certain aspects of game development were.
I'm sorry that like the pixels aren't as frontward facing this time.
Or as sharp.
One thing that did catch my attention was Mia Jovovich for Hitman 3 DLC. That is interesting.
I need to play Hitman.
I do too. It's like she's in a... And what's interesting is the World of Assassination game, which is what they rebranded Hitman 3 as. I think she's like either paid DLC or free DLC. I'm pretty sure it's paid DLC. But I'm actually surprised we did not get anything like this sooner. She technically did appear in another video game before. The reason I'm so fascinated by this is because I don't know if you know this, Morgan, but she is involved in a lot of video game movie adaptations.
Another podcast for another time, by the way.
Yeah. But and so it's just like I'm over here like it makes a lot of sense that they would be like, yeah, let's have a DLC with her, because the only reason she's in I think she's a good actress, but part of the reason she's in a lot of those movies is also because her and her husband are really big video game fans, and he's a director, so he'll make the movie and he'll star her in a leading role. She was in the Resident Evil games, she was in the Monster Hunter movies.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
I thought the Monster Hunter movie was good because, like, once again, I don't watch Monster Hunter for the story. If the story's bad, that's just normal for Monster Hunter. It was also really funny because
except for Wilds. Wilds apparently had a really good story.
Wilds has the story in Wilds is good. Another thing, me and you pointed out, Star Wars got a few Galactic Racer. I want a pod race. Now this is pod racing.
Yeah, KOTOR is back.
Yeah.
Anywho, and now on to the last game announcement. Well, there are two last ones. One is good, the other is bad. The first and foremost, let's talk about the good. Let's do good first, because normally people want to hear the good news first. Starting off, Larian Studios has officially announced the return of their other game franchise other than Baldur's Gate, Divinity. And let's just say, let's hope there weren't any kids watching that trailer. Because there are some things that happen in that trailer that kid is not meant to see. I obviously can't go into it in detail here.
Yeah.
All I can say is that I'm surprised that was a trailer they were able to show. It looked really good though, but unfortunately there wasn't really much gameplay shown. It was just a cinematic cutscene showing what's going on. Well,
Yeah.
sort of. Showing them at a festival, more like.
Before we talk about like the final one that disappointed everyone, can we also point out that like they did also unveil the they it was like the final big reveal for like Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I haven't played that one, but that was a big moment.
Oh, that was insane. Like
It felt like a good like recovery for Jeff Keighley, because he's the one who also was like, guys, we've got the final appearance of Kevin Conroy as Batman, and then revealed Suicide Squad, which we all know how that game turned out.
Yeah, it did. Once they announced it was a live service game, yeah.
Like,
And let's keep in mind, ever since that trailer, Lego Batman Legacy has been going non-stop with good content to show us. Like, one of their most recent trailers showed basically a Lego version of when Joker went to a museum in the Batman movie and just danced to Prince. It was just really good. But yeah, that's a game I'm definitely looking forward to. I played the Star Wars Legacy collection, but I didn't really enjoy it as much due to I've kind of died down on how much I enjoy Star Wars now due to reasons. But the Lego Batman Legacy collection looks like it's going to be insane. Not only does it look like it's just going to be an adaptation of all the movies, but it looks like they're also including the Arkham games, which should be interesting.
like I'm looking at like the list of all the announcements from like games that were already released. One big thing I wanted to point out was they announced they announced 2 movies.
That's true.
Super Mario Galaxy and Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only actor I recognized for Street Fighter was Jason Momoa, though.
Yeah, which the Street Fighter trailer had, it looks like they have a lot of wrestler WWE members, which I don't mind. I'll just say it. I don't care if that Street Fighter movie sucks, because I don't. Every time I try to understand the lore of Street Fighter, I'm like, well, it's one thing I love about Capcom games is they have their series that are very lore heavy, very good stories. Then they have their series where the story is an afterthought, but like
The gameplay.
but like the fact that the game is so good, and also the fact that like, yeah, the story's an afterthought, but there's still like a deep, like, then it's never like a bad story.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I have no idea what's going on in Street Fighter,
Like, for example...
but at least something's going on and it's like actually making sense. Unlike, and even then, like, once again, most people don't play Street Fighter. I don't think anyone actually plays Street Fighter for the story. They play it because it's a good fighting game. And honestly, as long as the Street Fighter movie is a really good action romp, and honestly, the way the costuming was, it looks like it feels like that old one from like what, the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, I think so.
Also the car. They had the car in it.
car.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which kind of surprised they're making the leap from Mario to Mario Galaxy right off the bat. It's understandable, though,
Which
but it's
some
still
people
surprising.
have pointed out there's like some elements of Odyssey in it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean...
I'm worried, which I feel like this is another podcast for another day, but I'm a little worried about the Super Mario movie, because it, like, with everything they're showing off, it feels like they're trying to put a lot of games into one movie.
Yeah.
Especially, which, from my understanding, it feels like they're only really fusing Galaxy and Odyssey, and even then...
My opinions on the Super Mario movie will have to wait until we do film adaptation.
They gave us Mario Kart in the first one.
Yeah.
If they do not give us a reference to Mario Tennis or Mario Golf, I will riot. I actually would love them to put more of the spin-offs as little cheeky like plot point references, you know, like give me a Mario Party reference in the Super Mario Galaxy movie and I will be happy.
All right. I will say Well, this is actually a genuine question I'm going to ask. How many fans of the series are just going to be happy enough to know that Rosalina, aka Best Girl,
Yeah.
is going to be in a Mario movie voiced by Brie Larson?
Ooh. Because I know not a lot of people are a big fan of Brie Larson because of Captain Marvel.
I did not.
Ooh, that's gonna be an interesting one to see.
Hot take here. I liked the Marvels, but that again another day. But
Yeah, like you can't honestly. Most of the times, I forgive actors just because I'm like, it's not the actors, it's the script.
yeah, I mean there are times it is the actor's fault. Like for example, Wakanda Forever, due to the main actress's anti-vaxxer reasons.
Yeah,
But again, that's not our expertise.
yeah.
Anywho, but Nolan, I'm afraid it's time that we
what?
talk about the other game that
No,
was announced.
no. I don't want to think about that. I was loving the 2025 Game Awards.
Anywho,
I was loving it. Please, no.
I'm certain a lot of people are aware that when it comes to the Game
It's
Awards,
the greatest game ever. It's redefining what it means to be. Oh my god, I can hear it
No.
now. It redefines
Hold up.
gaming.
Let me speak. So first and foremost, one thing that's known for the Game Awards is that at the end, before they announce Game of the Year, they always do one last announcement, and it's usually a big ticket item. Like for 2023, it was that space adventure game made by Naughty Dog, and then for 2024, it was the return of Okami, and I am so excited for that one. Yeah. This year, it was a huge disappointment. This year,
God.
it was the last spot, the big ticket spot, was wasted on a live service PvP game called High Guard. And oh my god, when I was watching this trailer, I felt absolutely disgusted seeing it. And I was just like, this is what we stooped to. This is where we are now.
If it helps, the only thing worse than High Guard for me was how like MiHoYo just keeps getting their gacha game slop forced down our throats every year for me. But like, oh my, no, okay. Podcast for another day. Hold up. Why are we still supporting live service games? Oh my god! Oh my god! Have we learned nothing? Nobody wants a live service game, especially a hero shooter. I apologize for that. Like genuinely, I'm sorry. It was. I keep saying it. The only thing that made this a okay Game Awards is the fact that like I just wasn't a big fan of a lot of the game showed off, but I know a lot of people loved most of the game showed off. This was a good Game Awards. This was it. Jeff Keighley finally had the formula down. He found the balance, and of course, High Guard. I don't care if he's good friends with that studio. I really don't. High Guard should have been earlier.
It should have been earlier.
You know what would have been a great final ticket? Mega Man. If they had swapped the Mega Man reveal with the High Guard one, I don't think we would have... Yeah, people would have been like, oh, it's High Guard. Like, we still would have talked about how, like, oh, High Guard looks lame. It's just a generic live service hero shooter that'll last a year. But here's the thing. At least then that would have helped raise the score of this. Is the fact that he acted like this game is going to revolutionize gaming. And it's like, no, it will not, Jeff.
Dude, this is just another live service game that's just going to turn into Overwatch or something.
It will.
But I'll admit, there's only like one live service PvP kind of game that I feel like I could enjoy. Well, technically two now, but it would be Team Fortress 2 and Marvel Rivals. Those are the only exceptions because I enjoy those two.
And I'll be honest, Team Fortress 2 I feel like is held together by the fact that it has a lot of community support. Valve designed that game with the intention of allowing players to truly be able to have their own little, like they knew they were going to stop updating this game properly, and so they knew like we need to have a way for the community to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Which is what they did. Marvel Rivals, I'll be honest, the only reason Marvel Rivals is even succeeding is because it's Marvel, it's Overwatch 2 sucks, The game is themed around Marvel characters, and they were able to make every Marvel character, both male and female and non-binary and all the other genders out there, they were able to make them really hot.
Not to mention, all of them have some form of unique gameplay.
Oh, that too.
And
That too.
Plus, I will say it.
And once again, Overwatch 2 sucks. It's a
Yes.
trash game, and it also helps that, like, especially recently, with a recent Overwatch characters announcement, Marvel Rivals is able to succeed because the women in the game look different. In fact, Blizzard actually, Rare Blizzard Dub, they announced, hey, the voice actress for this new character actually spoke out against this character because she looks really cool in the animated trailer, but once you actually look at the 3D game model of her, she looks like every other woman in the game. And the actress was like, what are you doing, Blizzard? You made her look visually distinct from everyone else in this trailer. Why does her face have just the same copy-paste face? And Blizzard was like, yeah. But, like, once again, like, live service games are stupid. Yes, I get it. The idea of this infinite forever game, but here's the thing, every time they make a live service game, they prove that a forever game is not possible because nobody wants to spend money on something that they're going to keep pumping money into just for a company to pull the plug one day.
Look, there are a lot of games out there that I feel like are just going to be very popular for a very long time.
Yeah.
For example, most of the Hoyoverse games like Genshin, Honkai.
I don't know
and
why
Zenless.
those games keep getting like dedicated spots during. I understand giving MiHoYo the award for best mobile game every year, but also that's the other thing. At one point, I'm tired of hearing like COD Mobile, Genshin Impact, like the same 5 mobile games every year for like. I get it. Most mobile games are not like that high quality. But please, I'm tired of, like, don't get me wrong, I love watching Activision lose. I love hearing him say, Call of Duty Mobile, and then be like, they did not win. I love seeing Activision lose. But also, I'm tired of hearing, like, the same 5 games win, because, like, once again, it's just, outside of, like, that 1 year Among Us one, it's always the same 5. It's always a MiHoYo game. And don't get me wrong, they're good developers. They make good games. But also, like, come on, man. Give us some more.
All right. But now that we've talked about the games announced, it's time to talk about the game that won. As a lot of you know, the Game Awards is, of course, an award show. It's in the title. And, of course, it's a whole... The whole point of it is that we're celebrating these games that were released during the past year and how good they are. And, of course... There were a lot of good games that were released this year. Hollow Knight Silksong was released this year. Hades 2 was released this year.
How did Silksong not get a nominee?
Well, it was nominated for Game of the Year.
Was? Oh.
Yeah.
You can tell how much I paid attention.
But against all odds, there was one game that stood above the rest as what we were all sure was going to win Game of the Year. Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Yes.
French. Those French people won. How dare the French?
Some background here. It's time to put my dev glasses on. Before all this, Sandfall Interactive was merely just 30 French former Ubisoft developers. They worked on a lot of games in the past, but now they've gone off on their own to make their own game. And, of course, it had a bit of a, like most games, a bit of a rough start. They didn't have a composer, they didn't have actors. So, what happened was, they posted a trailer on Reddit for their game at the time for actors. And eventually, not only was their composer merely a SoundCloud artist in the past, but they got a lot of good voice acting in this game with people like Ben Starr, who is well known for being Clive in Final Fantasy XVI, Jennifer English for Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate.
They got Matt Murdock in there as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they got Daredevil from Daredevil, Charlie Cox, to be Gustav, and that's insane. And there are, of course, other well-known actors in this but we'd be here all day listing them off. And of course, Claire Obscure is funny. It's got all of its jokes land rather than feel forced. Seriously, who could forget that the way they recruit Minoko onto the team? There will be a lot of fighting. Yeah, that's true. There will be a lot of fighting. That is true.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of clips, and every time I see a clip of the game, specifically that clip, I was like, I need to play. I need to get a hold of this game as soon as possible.
I've played a bit of Expedition 3.
Is it true that it's like the Dark Souls of RPGs?
Yes.
Oh, nice, nice.
Like, unlike other turn-based combat games, whenever it's the enemy's turn, you have a chance to dodge or parry the opponent's attack. If you parry, then you have a chance for a counterattack.
Oh, nice.
But you need to parry every single attack they throw at you and know their timing.
Yeah.
And if you dodge, you're taking the safe option. And then, of course, they introduce jumping later, which auto-counters if you do it right. So... Little question for you, Nolan. No looking at your phone for this one.
Okay.
How many awards did Expedition 33 win?
I cannot tell you the exact number, but every category that Expedition 33 wasn't eligible for, it won. The only things I know for a fact, the only things it didn't win was Streamer of the Year, Best Mobile Game, the Community Award, the Best Family Game, best sports game, like the ones that it just physically could not be
It could not win.
Which I forget, did they win the game, like Jeff Keighley's Game Awards Indie Game of the Year?
Yes, they did.
Okay, yeah, that's I don't know if you want to make that a separate podcast, because that's a whole conversation to have.
They've won 9 total awards.
They swept.
And fun fact, just a little reminder, this is not a AAA game. This is an indie game. And
that is an interesting debate. And once again, I don't know if you want to make this a separate podcast, but I know that was a big thing people have been talking about, especially because it caused another conversation about another game called Dave the Diver. Mm-hmm. Dave the Diver was a game that was made by a studio that, especially because of the look of the game, a lot of people claim to be indie. Even the developer was coming out and saying this is not an indie game. Unlike Dave the Diver, Sandfall Interactive has not really done a lot to say, hey, we aren't an indie game. They're basically taking every award they can get. They got called out for using AI models, not intentionally, but as placeholders. And so the indie award, like the award show for only indie games, they had actually won like Indie Game of the Year for that as well. And they actually had that one stripped because they were like, hey, actually you're disqualified because we found out you used AI in your development process and accidentally left the AI textures in the game. And yeah, they did patch them out with the actual artwork they intended, but it was supposed to be, and even though it was supposed to be placeholders, it was like, you used AI textures, that's bad. But that also led to a lot of people discussing like, what exactly makes an indie game? You know, because like, here's the thing. Part of the reason, Sandfall itself is made of 30 people, but there's like, you look at the credits, there's a lot of people in those credits. And even then, they had a lot of money. They had backers. They got funding. Like that was the level of scale. Was that an indie studio? I don't know, man.
As much as this topic does interest me, separate podcast. But first and foremost, the one I feel like I like Expedition 33. It's a really good game.
Looks like a great game. I just know some people might have a problem with calling it an indie or not.
And of course, I agree that did deserve it deserved Game of the Year.
It did.
Between the 6 nominees, like honestly, its biggest competition in my eyes was Silksong and Hades 2. 2 other indie games, by the way. The other 3 games that weren't indie games were Death Stranding 2, which, you know, it's a Kojima game.
I'm not surprised.
And Donkey Kong Bonanza, of course, Nintendo's got to get in there somehow. And then finally, this one is the most, like, how? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I've never played Kingdom Come Deliverance, so I don't know if it's like a good game or a bad game. Heck, before I saw the nominees, I didn't even know it was released this year.
Well, of the games on this list, I admit this is one of the few times where I there's not a single game on this list of the nominees that I actually played. Either because I just like
You didn't have
I'm not
money.
interested in Death Stranding. Hades 2, I have a lot of respect for the Hades series, not my gameplay style because I'm old.
Roguelikes
I
are kind of aggressive.
Same with Silksong. Loved Hollow Knight. Don't know how to maneuver in Hollow Knight, so didn't really want to do Silksong. Donkey Kong Bonanza is too expensive.
Yeah,
Kingdom
that
Come
$70
Deliverance
price tag is a little intimidating.
I have no interest in Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Me neither.
I do agree. Silksong or Hades 2 were good competitors. Bonanza is good, and I do think it was a good competitor.
Yeah, but was it gonna win?
It was great. It trailblazed the Donkey Kong franchise and did a lot with its like destructible environment. But I'm sorry, man. Like, let's be honest. The only reason Kojima's on there is because he's Jeff Keighley's friend. I'm sorry. You cannot tell me that Death Stranding is a good game when the first chapter takes 10 hours? The entire tutorial's 10 hours. It's all about moving boxes across a big open world. And then for the second game, because people hated the gameplay of the first game, they were like, actually, we're going to have the gameplay of the first game, but we're actually going to focus on it less and make it more of a combat game. And then you're like, okay, but that kind of defeats the whole purpose of Death Stranding. And I'm over here like, I'm sorry, Kojima lost the plot when he looked at feet too many times. But like everything I see about Expedition 33, like I wish some of the other awards were more spread out. But even then, like I've been, do you know, I haven't even played it, but you know how many times I will turn on the soundtrack for Expedition 33?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You listen to
I'm sorry.
You ever listen to In Lumiere's Name, which is the song that plays when you fight robotic mimes?
Not yet.
That's a good one. It's literally the epitome of, all right, how French do we want this song to sound? Yes.
Yeah.
So anywho, the awards that some of them won, I feel like they earned, but I feel like there are some games that probably should have earned them a little more. For example, Best Debut Indie Game. I gotta admit, I was kind of pining for another game to win the Best Debut Indie Game. Dispatch.
Ooh, yeah.
I loved Dispatch. It was so good. It was so funny. I love how Aaron Paul sounded not like Jesse for once.
Yeah.
Because it feels like any character Aaron Paul plays, he's got like that little Jesse voice in him. But this time he was actually able to sound different.
It felt like later season Breaking Bad Jesse that was more tired, more serious.
Yeah, exactly. And plus it was fun. I like how three of the hero villains you're mentoring were actual content creators. You got Penguin Zero, Jacksepticeye, and Elena Price.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Jacksepticeye and Elena Price actually went to the Game Awards dressed as their characters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Just a little heads up, though. Elena Price did not just go full Malevolent mode and decide to paint her body red. She just wore the outfit. Same for Jacksepticeye. I don't think... But all the stuff in that game was funny. And plus, a lot of the narrative was really good. Like, I thought the whole... There were so many people who were predicting that Blonde Blazer was going to be a bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
But no, she's 100% good. And that's why I feel like I messed up.
I'm looking at a lot of the awards. Mm-hmm. And, of course, like, it's a great reminder of, like, I always forget what games release throughout the year. Because like the year feels so long to me. Like I forgot Ghost of Yotei released, but like
not gonna lie, I feel like Ghost of Yotei should have been up for Game of the Year and not Kingdom Come Deliverance. Because like that was more enjoyable.
One thing that like I'm both surprised by, but also I'm like, no, that actually makes a lot of sense. Battlefield 6 won Best Audio Design. Yeah. But like, well, here's the thing: Best Audio Design is separate from Best Score and Music. So, of course, Best Score in Music went to Expedition 33, but like now, like when I remember like what exactly, because you know we tend to forget like, oh hey, there's more to the game than just its musical audio. When you think about it, like Battlefield 6, it's a war game. You have to have the perfect audio balance for that with the guns and the bullets and all the mechanics of it. So I on one hand I'm surprised, but also I'm like, actually no, not at all. In fact, if a shooter game does not have good audio balance, especially with how much of a mechanical sense there is to that game, what's it doing? You know?
So here's a fun. So I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, this makes me remember something. Oh, I just remembered something hilarious. So one thing that also released earlier this year that I completely forgot about was the Indiana Jones game, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. But here's the thing that made it hilarious to me. When Todd Howard and Troy Baker were on stage announcing that game, I, of course, noticed the fact that Troy is a lot taller than Todd, which, you know, it happens. But then Harrison Ford, the man who originally played Indiana Jones and Han Solo, was on stage too, and Todd is short.
Oh yeah, that man's tiny.
That man is...
Why else do you think I'm all for making fun of Todd Howard? If Todd actually tried to beat me up for making fun of him, I could take him in a fight. And I'm not even that muscular. Like, I am a nerd. I'm a 6'2" nerd. There's not a lot of muscle in me, but even I know, like, I could take Todd Howard in a fight, Morgan.
Yeah. So, one thing I will talk about right now real quick is the fact that when it came down to best performance for the awards,
I literally just pulled that one up. Yeah.
There were like 5 nominees.
There were 6 nominees, and like
nominees.
half of them were for player
Half
obscure.
of them were from the same game. Like, for the ones who weren't from Expedition 33, you had Erika Ishii, who played Atsu in
Ghost of Yote.
Ghost of Yote.
Konatsu Kato from Silent, who played, I'm guessing the main character from Silent Hill F.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Troy Baker for which
Indiana Jones.
I haven't played it, but every time I see a clip of the Indiana Jones games, he does a good job just being Harrison Ford.
And then there's the 3 actors who were nominated from Expedition 33. You got Charlie Cox, you got Ben Starr, and Jennifer English. When this was actually a year where I felt like I wanted to vote for Game of the Year stuff. So I actually went online, signed in, and voted for Game of the Year and all the other nominees. And when I got to Best Performance, I actually decided to vote for Jennifer English because I thought that she had an amazing performance in the game.
Yeah, like I've been playing Final Fantasy 16, and Ben Starr does a great job of Clive, but everything I see about, like, I see more clips of Jennifer's character in Expedition 33 than I do Ben's character.
So, like, yes, Charlie Cox did well, but he is not in the game for an extremely long amount of time.
They just wanted to put a famous actor on the nominees list.
And then there's the fact that, like, Ben Starr. I love how both Jennifer English and Ben Starr basically became like best friends during this game. I thought it was hilarious and I loved it. And I saw how supportive he was when she won. Which, by the way, when she won Best Performance, I was so happy because, like, she really does deserve it. She did amazing with that game. And when it comes to, like, and what makes it even better is the fact that, like, the people who were announcing the category were none other than fellow Baldur's Gate veterans in the form of Neil Newborn, Astarion, and I forget the actress's name, but she played Orin in Baldur's Gate 3. But a lot more people know her for playing the 9-foot-tall vampire lady from Resident Evil Village.
You see where Moist Critical won Content Creator of the Year?
Look, when it comes to Content Creator of the Year, I feel like this is kind of like they kind of want to talk about the fact that they do pay attention to people who play their games. And for the past 3 years, when I actually started watching the Game Awards, I did know everyone who was nominated and everyone who won. Well, I knew everyone who won. I didn't know everyone who was nominated. Like, cause
this year, I don't recognize it. Like, I don't know who Kydril is. Kai Cenat, I know of him. But
I've
just
seen
like
Kai
him, Sakura Miko, which I do think Sakura Miko and the Burnt Peanut deserve the nominations. So Sakura Miko does play a lot of video games as a VTuber, so does Burnt Peanut. Sakura Miko doesn't play as many because VTubers are specifically Hololive VTubers do a lot more of idle work.
Yeah, that's true.
Burnt Peanut, I will say, Burnt Peanut actually won VTuber of the Year, which was impressive. Most of the time when I think of most...
He then clowned on Iron Mouse after the fact, called her a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
Which...
I don't know why I will say... I say this, and then my whole thought, like, all I know about Moist Critical is that, like, yeah, he was in Dispatch, but every time I see a video by him, like, he's not really playing video games.
He's more of a drama guy.
Yeah, like, I get why... I think I understand why he's on there because he did have the Dispatch. Kai Cenat, I didn't understand because every time I see a clip of Kai Cenat, even if he has a game in the background, he's not playing the game. He's a lifestyle streamer.
Yeah.
I don't like, especially if you are celebrating content creators who have impacted the video game space. Like this Kydril guy, I'm sure he does a lot of content. I've just never heard of him. I'm not going to judge him. But Kai Cenat, really? Like, I'm sorry, I get it. He's big. He's famous. Why?
So in the past, the two winners for this category were, first of all, Iron Mouse, who is a well-known VTuber in the community. She's very fun. I've seen her content. I think she's great.
Her and I love her and Sea Dog VA's
their dynamic
friendship.
is fun. And
she's also a fellow Kamen Rider fan, which I'm like, that's a dub.
She's a what?
She's a Kamen Rider fan. It's a Japanese tokusatsu series.
And then there's 2024 when Queso won, and I haven't really
watched.
That
one made sense. You know.
Yeah, like I haven't really watched Queso's content, but from what I have seen, he is pretty cool. I just find it hilarious how everyone has one joke that they make about Queso.
Oh yeah,
and it's the fact that bro's massive.
Yeah.
So for this year, everyone was like, there are a lot of people who are really either surprised, excited, or disappointed over the fact that Moist Critical won. And the funniest part is that along with them, the person who was the most disappointed was Moist Critical himself.
Which that makes me respect Moist Critical a lot, just because of the fact that he recognizes. I think he recognized that he's not as much of a game streamer. It should have went to someone like
should have went to someone else
like Kydril, Sakura Miko, or Burnt Peanut. It should have went to one of them.
I honestly want Peanut to lose.
That's fair. You know how I was trashing on MiHoYo earlier? This reminds me. Okay, this is because it's just become a hyperfixation. Best mobile game was won by Uma Musume Pretty Derby, and I didn't mind that the lady was like Umama Sume. I didn't mind that. I love it. I'm happy. Horse girls for the win.
I didn't play that game.
I actually, it's a gacha game.
I believe it.
It's fun. It's fun enough. You know, the characters are entertaining. I don't play the game because it's a good gameplay. I just play it because I like seeing the horse girls be really funny characters.
So, fun fact, I just find it funny how, back in the past, back in the 90s, when Sega had their blue blur to rely on when it comes to clowning on Mario, they of course had the big rivalry between Mario and Sonic.
Yeah, did they make fun of Sonic? I forget.
No, well,
no, I'm not talking about Sega, but the Game Awards.
No, they did not. But here's what did happen, and I find this absolutely hilarious, is that for this year's family-friendly game, both Sonic Cross Worlds, which is a big racing game, and Mario Kart World were both nominees. And I find it hilarious because, like, recently, at that time, I saw a trailer for Sonic Racing Cross Worlds.
And it looks like a good game.
It is a good game.
Yeah.
And here's the best part.
It's got Hatsune Miku in it.
Oh, you know it's good when they got both Miku and Joker Persona 5.
They got Sonic's... They got Sonic's stepsister Hatsune Miku driving a car with him.
Well, more of a hoverboard. And they also got one of the dudes from Yakuza.
Oh yeah, they got Ichiban Kasuga.
Yeah, and plus
sadly unvoiced.
And plus, here's the thing: they're also getting Nickelodeon shows in it.
Oh,
They already
yeah.
have SpongeBob, they got Minecraft, and in the future they're going to get Ninja Turtles and Avatar.
Which that's because of the partnership with Paramount, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, which is interesting.
I mean, well, it makes sense. The Sonic
It
movies
does.
the Sonic movies are thanks to Paramount giving them the reason.
I just love how Sega took nothing but L's.
Until the Sonic movie came out.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
not
well,
just
even
the
at this
Sonic
Game
movie.
Awards, it's like they just kept trashing on Sonic the whole time.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. One of the biggest disappointments for this Game Award was the fact that Sonic 3 was denied a Best Film Adaptation.
Ooh, yeah, wait, hold up. Let me pull up the...
Because the thing is, Sonic 3 released kind of late in 2024, so it wasn't able to be part of that year's film adaptation.
Yeah.
So it feels like it should have been part of this one, but they weren't. I will admit, when I did watch this season of The Last of Us, and I both liked and hated it, but that's a podcast for another day.
I have no opinions of Devil May Cry. I just know that like they changed the voice actor for Dante to the guy who voices Nero, who's aka Johnny Young Bosch, which is weird. I didn't even know Splinter Cell got an adaptation. Yeah, wait, yeah, no. It didn't even get a nomination.
No, it did not.
I wish okay. I actually hyperfixated on this Until Dawn one. Mm-hmm. Can that even count as an adaptation? Because from my understanding, from what I read, they didn't adapt the game. It's basically the same rules and like the same like concept of the game of like the time loop stuff, except the issue is that it's once again it's not designed the same way. It's just the same rules and same concept as the game, but with a different cast. It's just, I don't even, it's either set in the same world or it's just, either way, it's one of those, this should have just been a movie. The only reason they put the Until Dawn name is because they wanted that brand recognition.
I will admit.
I wouldn't have been surprised if Minecraft movie won just for the meme.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. I don't know a lot about Until Dawn. I know it's like a horror game and whatnot, but like, here's the thing. One of the only things I know about Until Dawn is that apparently it was ridiculous enough that it got a fan dub by Snapcube, who, if you're all familiar, they are the ones behind the famous Eggman memes.
Yeah.
I'm certain everyone's aware of them. I can't talk about them here due to reasons, but they're funny, you know? Anywho, but yeah, this year the Game Awards was pretty tight. Did Expedition 33 deserve every award they got? Mostly yes. The only one I feel like it should have gone to another game was Best Debut Indie Game. That should have gone to Dispatch. But everything else, I feel like they earned. Your thoughts, Nolan?
Sorry, I'm having to send a text. What?
Your thoughts on the overall Game Awards this last?
I've mentioned it before. I thought it was okay. I really do think Jeff Keighley finally solved all the problems they've been having since 2022.
And then they had High Guard.
Yeah, like I feel like what celebrity cameos were there either made sense for like the context of it. Like 2022 when Christopher Judd gave that super long speech, Al Pacino was handing out Best Actor. I get it, and I did like how Al Pacino was. I'm not really a gamer, but my kids play a lot of games. Mm-hmm. But even then, like, if you're gonna bring an actor, I don't mind when they have actors come on and be like, "Hi, I'm representing this adaptation."
Like you remember when last year they had Snoop Dogg?
Yeah, like which Snoop Dogg had a reason to be there because not only was him and his son like presenting the game, they weren't just presenting a game because, they're a celebrity. They were presenting a game also because they were being given a chance because Snoop Dogg actually helped his son develop a video game development studio for young black artists.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's amazing.
Plus,
I haven't seen any.
He debuted a whole new song, so there you go. I'm not a big Snoop Dogg fan, though, so I didn't really understand much. But yeah, The Game Awards 2025. Not perfect, but considering how well their previous ones went, better. A lot changes in a year, so we'll have to wait till the Game Awards 2026 to see how Jeff Keighley is going to act out this year.
Yeah, like genuinely, this was a good Game Awards.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining, but it was just because of the game announcements. It was just, it was okay.
Yeah,
Like, it's not amazing, but it's not horrible.
All right. And with that said, I think it's good. I think this is a good time for us to officially stop. We've been here for quite a bit. Pretty sure this is one of my longer podcast episodes.
Hour and 10 minutes.
And I hope all you students have at least learned something today about gaming and the history of the Game Awards and how a lot of people are just kind of like
Yeah.
Because like they're there to watch it, but do they fully understand? No. This is Mr. McKinney and his friend Nolan, and we wish you all a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.